So there are 14 days before the next SAT, and if you're like most students watching this video, you're probably sitting there thinking that you have absolutely no chance of performing well on this next test, simply because you haven't studied enough up until this point. Well, this video is essentially to convince you that that is not true at all. Even if you have not studied at all up until this point, 2 weeks before the SAT, you can still perform decently well on the test if you follow the exact steps listed in this video. But you see, most of you are not going to do that. Most of you are going to sit around and watch Skibidi Toilet videos for the next 2 weeks, and then SAT day is going to come and you're just going to not even know what happened and get probably an even lower score than you're expecting right now. Your goal should be to not do this and to instead follow exactly what I'm about to say in this video. Now, if you want to know why you should trust me, I scored in the 99th percentile myself on the SAT, and now I work with literally thousands of students to help them perform just as well and get a 1500 or higher on the test in my free school community. More on that later in the video, but first let's get on to the actual method. So it really all comes down to these loops that you see on the screen right now. You see, there's this guy named Ray Dalio, and he's this big hedge fund manager. He's like literally a billionaire. And a few years ago, he made this book called Principles. The book has a bunch of really valuable information for business owners in it, but the big thing that he talks about throughout the entire book is essentially this idea of these loops. So Ray Dalio, he works with large sums of money as a hedge fund manager. And there were many times throughout his career that people in his company just made some terrible decisions. I'm talking absolutely terrible, losing millions of dollars in just the span of a few days. And the thing is, for most companies, when they make bad decisions, is essentially like this loop here. They are essentially, starting out at this nice place, but then they do something really bad, and then they just spiral down. And for most business owners, it's kind of like a long-term spiral. They never get out of it. So it's like they spiral down and they spiral down more and then they spiral down more until they're eventually bankrupt and they go out of business. A good example of this is a company like Blockbuster. Blockbuster can never compete with Netflix. Nobody wants to rent movies from a place they have to drive to. But you have a second option, which is what Ray Dalio wants his employees to do, which is that when they get something wrong, their goal should be to spend all their energy to make sure that they don't get that same thing wrong again, and so they can improve. And by doing this, they don't just stay where they are. They actually make sure that they never make that same mistake again, so they actually improve on where they were originally. And so it's a constant loop. They consistently improve their mistakes, they make sure to never make them again, and they get a little bit higher and a little bit higher with each one until they see this big long-term increase in quality and skill. This applies just as much to the SAT as it does for investment. Most people watching this video are currently at the top of the funnel here. They're sitting around, they're doing random stuff like Khan Academy videos, watching random YouTube videos, trying to do random practice problems, and they're just hoping that somehow that's going to be the thing that will save them when test day comes in 2 weeks. But the thing is, that's not going to work. They're just doing this peripheral stuff when in actuality they need to be focusing on the key thing that will actually help them improve their SAT score. So what is that one thing? What I want you to do right now is take a practice test. Doesn't even really matter where you get it from, just take a practice test. Even if you've taken one like weeks ago, I still want you to take one right now, or at least some point in this week, to make sure that you know where you're at currently. Then, over the next 2 to 13 days up before the SAT, this is day one, next 2 to 13 days, what I want you to do is essentially take that practice test, and for each problem you got incorrect, write down in this mistake tracker, which I'll give you a link to in the description of this video, exactly what the question was, what the correct answer was, and this is important, explain why you got the problem incorrect. And then finally, explain what is a simple thing you can do right now, like a simple exercise you can try to avoid ever making the same mistake again. This exercise can be something like doing 10 practice problems, or it can be watching a YouTube video to explain the topic to you. Anything that will just ensure that you don't make that same exact SAT mistake again, so that way when you do your next practice test, you'll perform a little bit better, and a little bit better, and a little bit better. So the process is essentially to go through this looping process, maybe take one practice test this week, then maybe take a couple more next week, and just get a little bit better each day, do the same exact process for each one. And after you get through the process, I can't guarantee that you'll be at like a 1600 for your SAT score, but at the very minimum, you'll be a lot higher than you are right now, maybe even several hundreds of points higher than you currently are for the SAT. Now, day 14, the last day before your SAT, your goal should just be final review. Nothing stressful. Don't exert yourself on the final day. The goal is to make so much use of these days from 2 to 13 that you won't even need to use the final day for really anything. Now that sounds pretty good, but a lot of you are probably still kind of confused about what to be doing each day. You're still going to get lost. You're still not going to know what to do like day 7 of this process. So that's why I made a 14-day course where I literally go through everything that needs to be done day by day to improve your score for the SAT. Literally 14 different videos that you can watch each of the following days before the SAT actually happens to give you the best shot of being prepared for the test. I've literally spent over 10 hours researching, editing, recording, and creating this entire course. It's over 2 hours long in terms of all the videos put together. I've given some people the strategies from this course already, and they saw basically 100 to 200 point score increases in just a couple of weeks after using it. So this stuff really does work. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a paid course, but I'm giving the first 2 days away for completely free in my Skool community with the link in the description. Just these 2 videos alone provide you some really valuable stuff for the test. To access it, just click the link in the description, go to the page, and join the community right here. Hope this video helps. Good luck on the SAT in 2 weeks.